From reaching trail to the Great March, from the aging ocean to the endless sea, from Fisherman's Row to Godcroft's. Live from Studio A in PressCorps World Headquarters, this is Foxhole Flash, bringing you the latest news from across the Siva Valley war zone.
Morning, afternoon, or evening. For the PressCorps, I'm Jeffrey Jennings. Here in the 71st conflict of the Foxhole War, it's day 98. Winter weather advisory continues for the regions of Orebreaker Isles, Feranic Coast, Stone Cradle, and the Lynn of Mercy, as both sides continue to duke it out all across the front line. Combined casualties here in the 71st conflict so far top 673,000 dead, total dead. That's about a plus 8% more bigger casualty rate for the Colonials, a growing margin as the Collies attempt to regain their footing after a brutal Warden offensive and the current Colonial counteroffensive currently underway. No word yet on if the Colonials will show any signs of being broken anytime soon. While both sides appear to have lost the most at the Deadlands, the Colonials in Feranic Coast have lost over 57,000 troops to the fighting, while the Wardens have only lost 44,000. All of these statistics coming from foxholestats.com. Foxholestats.com, a very handy resource for all of your statistical number crunching needs. Also give you a replay of the war in terms of how the sectors and the territories have exchanged hands. Well, I think we're going to continue focusing on Feranic Coast because that fight out of Jade Cove is just absolutely something else. And bringing us now, we heard from Mothme Man earlier from the Colonial line. I think we're going to go now to PressCorps Warden Correspondent Spots Blemish, live from Jade Cove City proper. Spots, how are things at the city?
Currently, by the looks of things, Colonial forces have pushed up to the forward ramp of Jade Cove.
They pushed up to the forward ramp of Jade Cove. That's about the high water mark of where they were before. How do the Wardens, from what can be safely discerned here live on the air, what do the Wardens have in terms of defensive measures?
Currently 2 armored car crews and probably, I'm guessing, around maybe 20 to 30 infantry. 20 to 30 infantry. Can't really tell currently due to being somewhat darkened outside due to the snowstorm. Right,
so yes, visibility is impacted during a heavier snowfall, and we're certainly keeping track of that. Now, you mentioned the Jade Cove ramp. That's one of the many names for this infamous bottleneck that connects Jade Cove to pretty much the rest of the bottom thirds of Feranic Coast. And the Colonials and Wardens just appear to be throwing manpower and material into that bottleneck. Who do you think has the upper hand so far? Who has the momentum, the Collies or the Wardens?
The Collies definitely have the momentum. They destroyed the eastern bunker the Wardens were using to defend the main choke point, defending the passage between the Jade Cove ramp and McCarthy Fields.
Right. Actually, we're hearing fire support as well. Was that a mortar?
Yep, that's a mortar for sure.
And heavy trenches reported. Now, we had heard about the trench networks, the litany of trench networks at McCarthy Field. Are there any trenches at the Jade Cove bottleneck, the ramp, or is there just not enough?
There are some trenches to the northeast of the ramp itself. There's some trenches by the local base just to the north, about northeast of the ramp.
Now, there is the ramp itself that leads directly into the heart of the city, towards Town Hall, pretty much a beeline straight towards Jade Cove Town Hall. But are there ways around the city as well, around that ramp?
Colonial troops can try and flank to the north, and if the snowstorm keeps up like this, Colonial troops can maybe use the river itself to flank around the ramp.
Yes, we are predicting that Jade Cove, Feranic Coast in particular, but the surrounding regions as well, we may enter a winter weather watch. We're currently in warning. We're currently in a winter weather advisory. That's about our middle level. Still in danger of freezing, both on your person and vehicles. and visibility is impacted, but not so much as a warning when the storm is at its peak. Now, now you mentioned that the Wardens are leveraging, that we can safely disclose on the air, are leveraging armored car support as well as fire support weaponry in the form of mortars. Has any artillery been introduced by the Wardens specifically?
Currently can't be safely disclosed.
Okay, that's fine. And as for the Colonials, have they fired any heavier artillery into the city?
No. By the looks of things, I currently noticed no artillery being fired from both sides.
Understood. So currently, the big guns have yet to be brought into this particular section of fighting. Maybe certainly during the weeks prior, because my goodness, this battle for Jade Cove has just been something to behold. But in terms of finally looking at the outlook for how the Colonials might angle their way in, do you think they're focused more on the flanks or the ramp proper?
Oh God! I just witnessed the suicide truck itself.
Yeah, lots of distraction tactics, lots of charging back and forth that we've seen. And have you noticed any of that?
I noticed earlier a suicide, just right now, a suicide truck, and as well as that a suicide spike a bit earlier, right before we went live.
There are lots of gunfire in the background that we're picking up. That's perfectly fine, just because the situation is chaotic. But if the Colonials were to make use of the frozen rivers, if they do freeze over, if this hell does freeze over,
yeah.
But if the Colonials do make work of it, by your judgment, do you believe the Wardens will have the capability to respond to that?
There's by the looks of things, by what I can safely disclose, there are G houses defending the river itself. It's a common knowledge there's G houses always facing towards the river in Jade Cove,
right,
due to it being nice waterfront property.
Yes, you're actually spot on that. And yeah, I don't think it's a surprise to anyone that yes, garrison houses will be protecting the river, and we have yet to see if the Colonials are even making plans for that. But actually, has there been any reports by the Wardens for Colonial incursions on the other two bridges, like, say, the Winged Walk or north of Pleading Wharf? Has there been any signs of that, or is really all attention being focused on Jade Cove?
All attention's on Jade Cove. Nothing is focusing on the Winged Walk or Husk Hollow.
At least nothing in the past few hours, and yeah, it's all hands on deck for this bloody battle, like a light to a bunch of moths and flies. It's both sides,
as well as that, I like to. There's an infamous crater currently in the middle of the road leading into Jade Cove, which has to force everyone.
Go ahead.
Which has to force everyone going to the city. It's all any vehicles have to drive around this one specific hole in the ground. It's a smaller hole, but still, your vehicle can easily get stuck in those artillery shell holes.
Dead center in the middle of the street. That is in the middle of the road. That's that's something else that we're witnessing right now. And how the infantry might make use of that, how more holes will pop up, we have yet to see. But the entrance into Jade Cove, and I don't think we've gotten any reports that the Colonials have broken into the city up that ramp. No breakthroughs past the ramp. Is that correct?
Yeah, no breakthroughs up the ramp yet.
It is being contested, but nothing as of yet. But Colonial forces have reportedly they are dedicated to breaking into the city, and the Wardens are, at least for now, holding on to that front entrance. We'll see if any Colonial flanks will envelop the city. But Spots, do you have anything else for us before we go to break here? Have you discussed? Go ahead. Sorry.
It's going to be a massive meat grinder up this ramp. This ramp has been historically known as a meat grinder by both sides.
Yeah, that term tends to be overused in other regards, but the Jade Cove ramp is the definition of a meat grinder, and I don't think it's any stretch of the imagination.
It got this reputation since the Great City reworks back during World Conquest 19.
Yeah, that's accurate, and it's I think we're going to reach new levels here for this war. And actually, lastly, for in actuality, lastly, Spots, have you discussed with any of the local commanders on how they plan on defending the city proper? Anything that maybe that is safe to disclose?
I currently haven't discussed with local commanders yet, but by the looks of things, there's going to be a massive use of campfires, as well as that try and use mortar infantry to knock out campfires.
Okay, so strategic warmth targeting. Okay. Huh. We'll see if that winds up being cost effective for the Wardens, but this new winter warfare is certainly going to be something both sides are going to adjust to. But regardless, Spots, thank you so much for your report.
I do have confirmation. I have spotted some artillery being fired.
Artillery being fired into the city or from the city?
From the city.
From the city itself, and the Colonials, I think, are now aware of that. So the game being ramped up for both sides here in the ever-blossoming battle for Jade Cove, the siege of Jade Cove. So, Spots, thank you so much for your time and energy being put into this. Stay safe out there. For the press corps, Spots Blemish, Warden Correspondent from Jade Cove. Thank you. Well, as we mentioned earlier, and Spots was mentioning, winter weather advisory for Phoranic Coast, Oarbreaker Isles, Stone Cradle, Lynn of Mercy, and we're going to be safe and say Fisherman's Row as well, at least for the moment. Temperatures are falling and conditions have become hazardous to the body. Vehicles are now at risk of freezing. Rivers and some shores may freeze over and may be traversable. If you do not know the location of shelter or a campfire, it is advised to find or build one. There is a chance for the snowstorm to get even worse or calm down to a more manageable level. Again, a winter weather advisory has been issued for the following regions: Phoranic Coast, Lynn of Mercy, Stone Cradle, Oarbreaker Isles, and Fisherman's Row. Stay tuned to the Press Corps for more information. That's about all we have for the moment. I'm Jeffrey Jennings for the Press Corps. We're going to take you now to one of our radio dramas, originally slated for the top of the hour, but this story of Jade Cove just keeps on giving. We'll take you now to Dr. Ponsonby and Commander Rod's Iron Triad here for the Press Corps.
Press Corps Radio and its corresponding affiliates take pride